Start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. All right. Good morning. Sorry about that little false start at the beginning. Wanted to get the titling correct. Had to go back and redo that real quick, and I forgot to do that this morning. So it was one of those days, a busy weekend. But thank you for tuning in just the same. My name is Stephen Willis, and first of all, I do want to tell you about Travel and Cruise World. What I was trying to do here is give you a resource that you can call for your vacation. We're 18 months into this at this time. Everybody needs a vacation. So Central Florida is always going to be the place to go. So whether you're going to the attractions, whether you're going to the beach, or the numerous other natural beauty things that are available in Central Florida, you can give them a call at 1-800-330-7461. Again, that is 1-800-330-7461. Also want to tell you about Book a Tailgate. That is Take It to the Grove. They can hook you up with your tailgate, get you an extra tent if more people's coming than you're expecting. They can hook you up with basically storing your own tailgating stuff. They can rent you what you need. They can even pick up your catering. So that's bookatailgate.com. Again, that is bookatailgate.com, 662-701-1177. I also want to tell you about La Terrain watches. They are the gold standard out there of watches. So if you're looking for luxury watches at an affordable price, they are the watch for you. You can hook them up by putting promo code POMcast at checkout and get a 10% discount. So you can do that as well. If you want to watch the show, you can catch us on Twitter at the Stephen Willis and at Old Positively. On Facebook, we're facebook.com/POMcast. YouTube, Positively Ole Miss. You can not only tell that we're streaming, you can tell what we're streaming about if you subscribe and hit the bell. And of course, we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I want to put a little bit of bow in the Bama game. And I think that utterly that's a positive situation. If people looking at going into the number one team in the country and getting a win on the road as a 15-point underdog, that is a rare and that is probably unrealistic expectations. But what we did do, and we were able to build that game up to a point to where they took us absolutely seriously. They gave us their absolute best. The best version of any team that Lane Kiffin is going to see on the football field was right there that Saturday. And we saw that we were 21 points from being where we want to be. That's fine. That's all good because we're still recruiting players to fit this defensive system. Alabama had to change their scheme for this game. Now, credit Alabama for being able to change their scheme. Because there's two teams in the country that can do what Alabama did Saturday to Ole Miss. Just two. So the other 28 teams, your scheme works absolutely fine against. Those two, we need a little bit better players to compete with them. That's fine. That's football. We were always going to have a build. This was always going to be a build. We have a nose guard that is the top of our class for the class of 2022 that is 6'8", 335 pounds. You can see where he fits in. You can see the low players that drop in. They're considered tweeners where they will play. You can see that in this defense now. It's all starting to visually come together. You can absolutely see how these players will be used and eventually how much more difficult it will be to big boy and play bully ball against this defense. Even in a 3-2-6. We need experience and we need players. That hasn't changed. Before the season, I told you, if Ole Miss wanted to have a special season, they had to get through the first half 5-1. That's still on the table, guys. That is still everything that we want it to be. And we can work to build this into the best season it possibly can be, without losing sight of what we want to do as a program. That's the important thing about this. Don't get too lost on the week-to-week results and what's happening. Even the Tulane game, even the Alabama game, it doesn't matter. Do not get too up, do not get too down. Look at this from the program type situation. We are just a couple of years away. Let me bring this up. 2017, we lost to Alabama in Tuscaloosa 66-3. That was Tua's game, where he came in as a backup quarterback and could do whatever he wanted. In 2018, we lost 62-7. In 2019, 59-31. Last year, we lost 63-48. So defensively, out of the last 5 years, we'll just say out of the last 5 years, we've given up over 60 points to Alabama. Last year, they gained over 700 yards, and I think they were 7 yards short of having a perfect game. I mean, that's the level of resistance that we put up in that game. And if you listen to those results going into that 63-48 game, you weren't getting Alabama's best. That's the scary part. They were hanging 66 or 62 on you without giving you their best. Because there's 4 and 5 stars all over the field. It's a good team. It's a really good team. There's 2 teams in college football right now, and then there's everybody else. It's them and it's Georgia. We knew that going into the game. But if you look at those scores and everything, drop down to the 42-21. Last year we gave up 720-something yards or something like that. This year we gave up like 450. More respectable. Last year we gave up 63 points. This year we gave up 42. More respectable. Last year we lost by 15. This year we lost by 21. But the feeling, I don't know, there's some people maybe that the emotional immaturity comes into play or something like that. There were people that were genuinely expecting to win this game. And to win this game, everything had to go right for Ole Miss. And it didn't. And he's won more national championships than anybody, people. There's nothing to be upset about this game. This game puts you exactly where you plan to be. Even in the best of best case situations, this result puts you exactly where you want to be. So it's fine. It's fine. Now, I have seen people criticizing the going for it, and then it turned into an analytics slap fight online. If you're not reading it, congratulations. You know, that's the best thing I can say. But what this is pointing out, there's a whole bunch of people that make their living analyzing college football that don't know how analytics work, that are trying to lean on them too much. You will hear over and over again, and even Lane tweeted this out, but I don't blame him from doing that because he needs this to be the case. If this becomes the overwhelming ring, his spin wins. But they say that going forward on 4th down in those situations provides you the best chance to win, which is probably true if you go by the numbers, if you get it. If you do not get it, it functions like a turnover, and the other team's probability of winning shoots up. When we went forward on our own 30-yard line, when Lane kind of panicked just a little bit, and that's okay. It's the biggest. This is the biggest game in several years. We haven't had a crowd like this since 2019. It's fine. It's all good. And I am a fan of going for it and doing this, but not for a different reason. For a different reason than the analytics. I'll explain that in a minute. But you can see the win probability from Alabama go from 84% to 90% when we did not get that 4th down. So their analytics say their probability for winning goes up by us going for it and not getting it. Our probability of winning goes up by us going for it and getting it. See, it's not necessarily going for it on 4th down that affects the probability. It just provides an inflection point of the game where the probability skews one way or the other. And we go for it so many times that affects the ways the defense calls the game. There's not many teams that can do to us what Alabama did Saturday. Understand that. There's nobody left on our schedule that can. I'm not saying we're going to go 11-1. There's nobody left on our schedule that can do that. And we're not going to see Georgia this year, likely. So there's nobody to really be afraid of. So we can do what we do. But when people look at analytics and say that, oh yeah, going for it on fourth down like that improves your chance of winning. Yes, if you get it. If you do not get it, it's like giving up a turnover in your own territory, which improves their chances of winning. So basically, like I said, what it does is it provides an inflection point. And looking at that, sorry about this. Looking at that inflection point, if you make it, it can really snowball the momentum. And it just start rolling downhill, and you can really take over the game, and it affects the way the defensive coordinator plays because we're the only team that plays like that they're going to see. So don't listen to somebody that says going for those first downs provide the best chance of winning, because they're leaving they're leaving something off of that statement. Going for it and getting it provides a better chance of winning. Going for it and not getting it provides a better chance of losing. It is a gamble, and everybody talks about scared money don't win. I am all about going for it on fourth down. We just need to be intellectually honest about what this means. Because going through the analytics against Alabama, and everybody would agree with me on this one. Going with the analytics against Alabama, Lane panicked a little bit. He went for it on fourth down on his own 20, gave it up. Alabama scored a touchdown. Kicked off to us the first play. Matt Corral fumbled us 28-0, and the game is over. That quick. You were playing number one on the road. That has to be respected. Everybody likes the swagger, and everybody likes everything that's going on, but that has to be respected. It's a game we ended up losing by 21. That's a 14-point swing. It's a different ball game if that doesn't happen. Would they score if you punted the ball? You don't know. It could have led to a false start. It could have led to a holding penalty. It could have led to an interception or a fumble on the other end. It absolutely could have done that. But I'm saying playing number one on the road, they need to be respected. And that includes where you go for it. Now, if you go across the 50-yard line, yes, go at it all day. But if you're on your own 30-yard line, there was a brief moment that everybody thought he was going to go for it from his own 10. There was a little bit of panic that was happening by Lane Kiffin in that game. He got a little bit rattled. Whether it was the crowd, the fact that Nick Saban was on the other sideline, whatever, he got a little bit rattled. And that's fine. This is a game that we were not expected to win. Anybody that tries to play the we were expected to win card is being intellectually dishonest. We were 15-point dogs playing number one on the road. We need to be something special. But you have to be careful about basing a whole argument on analytics, because it will get you in a lot of trouble. Because the other side has analytics as well that is basically going off of that play. And if you do not get it going for fourth down, whenever you go for it, it is like a turnover in minus territory. And that caused a quick little run by Alabama, 14 points. It was 28-0 at the half. Defense actually played fairly decent. Alabama changed their style of play to combat Ole Miss. We made Alabama change their style of play. When they just go out and do what they do to everybody else, and everybody else can just take it, Alabama changed their style of play and went back to that Jim McElwain stuff. I've talked about how I thought that Bill O'Brien was closer to Jim McElwain than he was to like Sarkisian and Kiffin and those guys. Well, this is absolutely proof of that. And Brian Robinson is a great running back. He is tough to bring down. He's 235 pounds of just torturous goodness. He's a really good player. And they ran the ball he had like 40 carries for 170 yards. I mean, his yards per carry weren't outlandish to begin with. But I just want people to have an understanding of what happened Saturday. Now, like I said, I am all for going forward on fourth down. The way we've been playing, I am all on that train. But if we do not get the first down, understand that analytically that gives us a less chance to win the game, and it gives them a better chance to win the game. Against 98% of the teams in college football, we're okay in that trade-off. Giving Alabama the ball on the 30-yard line, that's not. Now, I understand if you look at Lane Kiffin, he was obviously nervous. He saw what was happening up front in the trenches to our offensive and defensive line. He saw that. Alabama came ready to play, and that is what we wanted. Make no mistake about that. The whole goal of this game was to get Alabama's absolute best and see where we were. It was a litmus test game. And you saw the physicality that they came with on the defensive and offensive line. Couldn't quite match that. They were able to get a little bit of a push. That'll change when Xavier Harris comes in at defensive line at 6'8", 350. And all of a sudden, Tywan Malone's playing one of the defensive end positions. You probably have Cedric Johnson on the other. That's essentially a three technique playing out wide with the great feet. Then you look at like Austin Keys and all that. Played really well at linebacker. Played really well as a young guy. And in the defensive secondary, Tysheem Johnson played really well. It is there. It is there. They're growing. They need to get a little bit older, but they are probably 2 years away from having a dominant defense. Period. And that is to go with offense. Everybody's like, well, we need to do everything this year because of our quarterback. Yeah, maybe, but people also spent the whole offseason talking about the loss of Elijah Moore and how that would affect us. I think we need a tight end. If we had a tight end this year, like Chase Rogers had a big game against Alabama, I think we would have had a better game against Alabama. I think that is a weakness position for teams going against Alabama is the tight end position. Hudson Wolf wasn't quite ready to do that. He will. I like Luke Altmaier, genuinely. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. And when he throws the ball, I saw him in the spring game, and I've seen him throwing a couple of passes. Get a little nervous going in there. He's got a little nerves. That's going to calm down. But I think he's going to do fine at the quarterback position. And you're building up talent around him. This is going to look a lot like Texas A&M looked with Jimbo with Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond really struggled his first year. But then as talent built up around him, he got better and better and better again. And then we're recruiting, Arch Manning, possibly the kid from Utah for the 2022 class. I'm excited about that. I don't play the recruiting game too much for that reason. But this game utterly is a positive. That there's no other way you can take it. This game is a positive. We saw the best they have. They gave us their absolute best. I told you the scores. They have scored over the past 5 years against us. They have scored 66, 62, and 63. The other year they scored 59, so 1 point away from 60. They're 1 point away from 4 straight years scoring 60 points on you. We're not quite there, but we're getting there. 42-21, taking Alabama's absolute best instead of 62-3 or whatever, with them just kind of overlooking you and just basically scheming what's going on. It's a big difference. We're almost there. Now, like I said, we need to continue playing aggressively like we play. Absolutely. But understand in games like this how they can swing if you don't get it. It is an analytic loss to not pick up a first down on your own 30. Alabama's chance of winning rose 10 percentage points by us not converting that fourth down. Now, if we get that fourth down, yes, absolutely, greater chance of winning because we still have the ball, still rolling. But it's just fair to understand what's going on because there are some people that just do not understand analytics. They just don't, for whatever reason. And they think it's a one-size thing and you can put it in a vacuum. It's like, hey, if we do all of this, we have a better chance of winning. No, you have to take the totality because they have analytics too. And your analytics affect their analytics. And they're number one in the country at home, a 16-point favorite, with pretty much. I really enjoyed watching Bryce Young play. Really did. He only threw for 200 yards or something like that. The defensive backfield did a fantastic job. We just need to get a little bit, fill it in on the run defense. Tysheem Johnson flashed in that game. Our number one breakout player to watch, he flashed in that game. I expect him against Arkansas and Tennessee to start showing up more and more. I expect the JUCOs. Jamon Gordon played some of that game, made some plays. I expect him to start flashing a little bit more and some regularity. Isaiah Aiton showed up in that game as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm looking forward to it, where this season goes. But 5-1 is, like, for a special season, is the minimum required. So we have to win Saturday against a team ranked 12th. We're 17th. If we win that game, we're going to move up in the polls. We might move back up. Might just flip them. It's also a game where Matt Corral last year threw 6 interceptions. He's going to be ready to play. He played rather well against Alabama. He played sneaky good, actually. There was just a couple of drops, a drop screen pass. It seemed like Alabama, we'd complete the pass like on a 3rd and 7, and we wouldn't fall forward like we normally do. They played so physical, we fell backwards and ended up being a 4th and 1, which put us in those go for it type situations. That's kind of the difference in the game, to go with the trench play. And Alabama played a really good game. They were up for this game, and we took their absolute best shot. We knew we weren't there. If they gave us that, we were going to be in trouble. But 42-21, I can deal with that. Absolutely. And could it have been different? Could the loss have been a little bit less? Could it have been a 31-21? Yeah, absolutely. It could. Plays were there to be made to do that, and they just didn't make them. That was the difference in this game. I don't think there was any world where we were winning that game as it played out, the way they came. Whenever they came completely up and they played clean and all of that happened in Alabama, because if Alabama plays clean, they can beat just about anybody. They can genuinely beat just about anybody. And they did. They came out and played clean. Bryce Young looked really good. There was a couple of touchdown passes where they found seams and holes, able to get through, that we didn't find into the second half. But, yeah. So we can put that to bed currently. Let's go over the lines this week. There we go. Tennessee is currently 10-point favorites over South Carolina in Knoxville. Line opened at 12. I'm looking forward to that. They just completely boat race Missouri. Missouri has a problem stopping the run, and that's a problem in this league. As we know, Ole Miss and Tennessee is all run-based without being able to run the ball. It will be problematic. But they just absolutely boat race Missouri. Missouri's in trouble. Georgia is a 14.5 point favorite over Auburn. Game's at Auburn. Line looks like it has moved a half a point. I think Auburn did a little fool's gold at LSU. I think LSU's not very good. They could potentially be 7th in the West this year. They beat Mississippi State. Then Mississippi State beat Texas A&M. That could be like a triumvirate down at the bottom. I don't know where Auburn sits, but Georgia's defense has given up 4 points a game. I'll say that again. Georgia's defense has given up 4 points a game. They are real. So that'll be interesting to see. Kentucky playing LSU in Lexington at the big grocery bag that currently are a 3.5 point favorite. It opened at -1. That's nearly a pick 'em. So all the money early on is going on Kentucky. And they should. Kentucky had a nice win. They are offensively challenged, but they are really good defensively. This is going to be a good matchup. because LSU is kind of defensively challenged going against an offensively challenged team. So that can make Kentucky's offense a little bit more dangerous. LSU's an offensive team with that defense. It could be interesting. Of course, LSU is trying to recreate 2019 and Joe Brady without having the players required to do it. And it kind of jumps up and bites them. Missouri's a 20-point favorite over North Texas. Game's at Missouri. No need to talk about that. Florida's a 39-point favorite over Vanderbilt. Believe it or not, it opened at 35. Vandy needed a last-second field goal to defeat UConn this weekend. And this might be the worst SEC team in several years, even though they got 2 wins. That ETSU game is looming large over them at the moment. Bama is I got that backwards. I think I got that backwards. They're a 17.5-point favorite. It opened at 14.5. I did put that in backwards. So all the money is moving to Alabama. People at this point after Texas A&M. A&M is in a little bit of trouble after last week. They got another one. That's 3 losses. Jimbo makes about $10 million a year. That could be a lot of pressure building up on it. And finally, if we look at it at 11 a.m. on ESPN, Ole Miss is a 6-point favorite over the Hogs in Oxford. I'm going to look real quick and make sure that line has not moved. It is now 6.5, and you can get it as high as -7 in certain places. The smallest, it goes down. Caesars has it at -6, at 6 points. Most of them is 6.5, and Superbook is at 7. But it could be an interesting game. You're going to deal with physical teams coming off physical games. They both weren't quite ready for prime time. This is expected. This is stuff that we've seen over and over and over again. It's both programs trying to elevate to the point where they can do this and get to where they need to be, but they need these wins. It's a process. You don't just get there overnight. This is something that is built over 2 and 3 years with certain players. Last year, the Alabama game looked like 2013 Ole Miss Alabama and not 2014 Ole Miss Alabama. Ole Miss lost that game 25-0. Went for it several times. It looked a lot like this game. And then they went on and got them a little bit later on and in 2014 and took them down. 2015 took them down. Their players got a little bit better. So that's something to keep an eye on. I'm going to give you some time back. You were expecting it. You weren't expecting my glitch. I do appreciate that. You watched and everything going on. And get ready for the Hogs. We got Beast of the East tonight at 8:30 Central. We've got Best of the West tomorrow night at 8:30 Central. SEC After Dark Wednesday, 8:30 Central. I'll be paying off my debt that night because I made a little fun bet for the Ole Miss Alabama game. So you will see all this will be houndstooth. Yay. And Thursday, we're doing a preview with Kevin Bohannon from Best of the West about the Arkansas game, and we'll start working our way through all of that. I do want to think it like last week we had the bye week and everything was situated before it, and it felt like we were talking about the Alabama game for like 7 days. So now we can get into a normal schedule of the games. Now, normally you would get the post-game notes. I just didn't want to play it because of the analytics argument that you see people kind of lazily making what's going on. So thank you very much for tuning in. Tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time for the POMcast. I'm Stephen Willis, and I hope you have a good day. Hotty toddy.